to the stage. It's Kevin Van Ord back here, and I am here to show. I'm very excited actually because we are showing off the spiritual successor to GameSpot's 2009 Game of the Year, which was Demon's Souls. So obviously we are very anxious to take a look at Dark Souls. I'm joined by Namco Bandai brand manager Brian. And Brian, welcome to the stage.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And obviously we're going to be looking at Dark Souls live and in person.
Yes.
We're going to be seeing that as your companion plays. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you think we should know about Dark Souls before going into the gameplay directly?
Well, Dark Souls is the spiritual successor to Demon's Souls, as we all know, multiple award-winning title that came out in 2009. It is made by the same developer, From Software, from Japan, so you're going to see a lot of similarities. A lot of the things that people loved about Demon's Souls, you're going to see again in Dark Souls, but you're also going to see a lot of enhancements. You're going to see a lot of things that are different, wrinkle-wise, to enhance the overall gameplay experience. Everybody knows that Demon's Souls was well known for being one of the most difficult and challenging games that had come around in a long time. Dark Souls should expect a lot of the same. After all, the tagline in the game right now is "Prepare to die." So
yeah. So let's take a look. I think that we've already got some play going, and tell us first that I played a little bit earlier, and there were several classes that I saw, some that were new. Tell us about the class that we see on screen and what this guy plays like.
Sure. I mean, you've got various classes that you can start with. Customization is a big part of Dark Souls as well. This particular class is called the Black Knight. We have Black Knight, we've got other knights you can be. You can be a soldier, a pyromancer, and a witch. We have several classes, more so than you saw in Demon's Souls as well.
Now, lots of people want to know about the difficulty. Obviously, that's an important facet of Demon's Souls that made it so successful. So people want to know about Dark Souls. Mr. McSwag from Atlanta is one of them. Will this game kick his ass like Demon's Souls did?
Yes, it will definitely kick his ass the way Demon's Souls did. Probably more so. If you've heard any of the other talk that's coming out of Japan from Software, they have definitely tried to make this harder. But what they've also said is, they don't want this game to be a stupid hard or an unfair hard. They don't want the ability to progress and be good at this game to be dependent upon your finger dexterity or things like that. This is a very cerebral game. They want people to learn from their deaths in this game. And if they're paying close attention to how they're playing, what character they're using, the role play that they're involved in, they're going to be able to pick up hints and clues. If they're very observant, they're going to be able to do a really good job in navigating their way through this game.
Now, speaking of hints and clues, obviously Demon's Souls had had the bloodstains, it had the ghosts of other players, and notes that you could leave for other players or find that others had left. Will we see those things returning, and will we see anything new that we didn't see in Demon's Souls in that regard?
You will see you will see those things that you saw in the form of messages. The soul phantoms and the soul messages and soul memories. That's what they're currently being called. They may end up being a different name, but essentially you're going to be able to see how other players have actually died before you. You might be able to leave hints for other players. It could be truthful hints on how to get by a certain mini-boss, but you could also kind of be a dick and be like, oh yeah, you want to do it this way, and then lead somebody into a death. The online play component of Dark Souls is something that has seen a lot of enhancements. And really, you're going to see, that's where the developer really tried to focus a lot of creativity and nuances to the Dark Souls game.
Now, there's been a lot said, well, a little bit anyway, said about the game's structure. Demon's Souls had kind of this central area where you went back and then you were able to access the 5 different worlds from this central area.
Right.
Now, people have been talking about Dark Souls being open world. Tell us about the structure of the game and how is it that we access its various places?
Yeah, exploration was a key aspect that the developer really wanted to have the player experience this time around. It's very non-linear in that when you go from one area to another, you don't necessarily have to defeat a boss to get to another area. You can actually just if you find the right ways to bypass, or you find different pathways to get to where you need to go, it's perfectly acceptable in this game to phase into another area using the hub.
Now we saw a new enemy, an enemy that I don't recall ever seeing in Demon's Souls, and that was basically this big metal boar.
Yeah.
What are some of the new enemies that we can expect to see? I also know that there's an enormous dragon in the demo.
Yeah.
I saw the boar though, and the boar is definitely new as far as I can tell. What else can we expect to see in terms of new enemies and new, really creepy things that we encounter?
Well, this is where I kind of have to put up that veil. What I can tell you is that you're going to see a great many unique monsters that have come from the twisted imagination and minds of the developers there. The collector edition that we're promoting also has an art book that'll actually showcase a lot of these creations, I think is the best word to use. But you'll see some really gigantic boss monsters. You'll see monsters that you didn't think were monsters and kind of emerge, so to speak, as you play through this game as well.
Now, Insane Cyclone in Alabama wants to know. He apparently likes the maiden in Demon's Souls.
The maiden,
the lovely lady that you talk to in order to spend your souls and level up. And so he wants to know: is there going to be an equivalent of that character, or is it going to be more? Is it going to be more gamey, or are you actually going to go and spend your souls and speak to someone?
Well, what I can say is one thing that both From Software and NVGA have been doing, we've been dialed into the community, the fans of Demon's Souls. We've been having ongoing dialogue with them to understand what it was about the first game that they really loved, and tried to make sure that the things that they do really love are going to be in Dark Souls as well. The NPCs that are going to be throughout various points in the game that you'll engage with to level up and do the things that you do to strengthen your character. There's going to be a wide variety there, and I think a lot of the things that people liked, they should expect to see again. A lot of things that they didn't expect to see will also be there as well.
Excellent. Is one of the returning things the concept of because if there was light and dark, there was there was the world tendency, and I'm kind of curious to know if that concept has returned and if it's actually going to be expanded upon. Oh, you're going to play coy again, aren't you?
I got to play a little bit coy on this. What we do see is some variation and some different setup with the way that the interactions are aligned. But as I said before, it's a non-linear world. You can get through role playing, and you might have heard about this oath system. The way that the multiplayer and the online player has been intertwined, the system. That's what's really been evolved in this game, and that's really kind of that's really one of the messages I want to get across, is that players are going to be able to look forward to a very, very unique multiplayer experience with this.
Right, and of course we all want to know more about that, really, such as Madhu in Gothenburg, Sweden. He wants to know about the co-op. One of the great things about Demon's Souls was, of course, you had something that was generally very gamey in other games. Here everything is right there in the game. It's right there as part of the experience, rather than, hey, I go into a menu and I invite somebody. It's all part of the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
Should we expect to see a similar system in place, or will there be anything new added? For example, I don't know that I would want voice chat, but is that something that you guys have thought about at all?
Yeah, right now it is something we very much have thought about. It's definitely been tested, but we also want to stay true to what made the Demon's Souls franchise popular. And it is interesting that you brought it up, because Demon's Souls was a PlayStation 3 exclusive, and a lot of our fans right now are from the PlayStation 3 platform. But and people may or may not know this, but Dark Souls is coming out on the Xbox 360. So a lot of those fans from the Xbox 360 that did not get a chance to experience Demon's Souls, the game and the franchise, with Dark Souls, they're going to get that opportunity. And that multiplayer aspect there is definitely going to be every bit as unique on the 360 as it was on the PlayStation 3.
Now, obviously, Demon's Souls wasn't story heavy, but it was more lore heavy. It was about ambience, atmosphere, that kind of thing. I'm looking at the screen here. I see we're entering Undead Church. I know that you don't want to talk a lot about all the different places and monsters that we're going to see, but Can you talk about the atmosphere? Do we continue to see kind of that dark medieval tone? What different kinds of, like, what is the feel, do you think, of Dark Souls?
And you're dead on right about it's not a story-driven franchise. Dark Souls is not that game, and From Software does not want to put it out as that kind of game. The way that they've really tried to envision it is it's a metaphor for life. The struggle that you go through in this game at times will, as a lot of people said, make you want to throw your controller. And we've already heard that today in our booth.
I broke a DualShock.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. Now the 360 controllers are a little bit more solid.
Yeah,
so
a little more
but
sturdy.
I already reserved this for PS3. So we can expect to break some controllers.
Definitely can expect to break some
You
controllers.
heard it here on the GameSpot stage.
Yeah, and that's what it is what we really want everybody to experience when they play this game, especially when they get through certain levels, is to experience this tremendous sense of achievement and that kind of gamer euphoria that you get when you get past a certain boss or a mini boss that you, when on an initial sight, were like, there's no effing way I'm going to get by this guy, but then boom, there it is.
Yeah. Now, I want our viewers to be able to see the dragon. I don't know if there's a way we can actually get your companion to go down there. I don't think he can hear us, can he? But hopefully he'll get down there. And
the wyvern, the big red dragon.
Yes. It's pretty interesting because, of course, that's one of the great sights of Demon's Souls.
Sure.
Is you see the big red dragon for the first time on the bridge.
Yeah.
And we have a very similar circumstance in Dark Souls for the demo. So we'll keep an eye on this and hope that we make our way down there.
He's already gone to the Undead Church. If we could get him to respawn and go back to his original, he could definitely get into the area where the wyvern was relaxing. But in the actual game itself, you'll see that wyvern fairly early on, and this stage here is fairly an early part of the game itself.
Well, it looks like we're going to be moving on in just a few moments. So, one last question before we go back to the show floor. But John Kops in Wisconsin, he does want to know, like, hey, I'm a 360 player. I didn't play this game on the PS3. Is the game going to get me caught up to what's going on or what I need to know going into this, or is it even going to be really all that important to me?
Oh, you mean in terms of if he hasn't played Demon's Souls?
Exactly.
No, and like we said, this is a spiritual successor. This is a game that if you've never played Demon's Souls, it won't matter. And if you pick this game up and you start playing it, you're going to have just the same type of experience that all the players that played Demon's Souls for the first time did. It's going to just draw you in, and before you know it, hours and hours will have passed where you're like, okay, I want more. I want more.
Great. Well, Brian, thanks for stopping on our stage. I know when Demon's Souls, I already know when Demon's Souls came out, but I also know when Dark Souls is coming out. Tell our viewers when Dark Souls is coming out and for what platforms, just to make sure they know.
North America, Dark Souls coming out on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 on October 4, 2011.
Fantastic. Brian, thanks so much. We're going to go back to the show floor. We're going to take a look at Wipeout and some other goodies. So let's see what's going on out there.